Okay.
Okay, so well, do you know what biological evolution is, or an idea about what it is? Can you guys think, pair, share for a few seconds?
Is that like the adaptation sort of biological evolution?
I guess I've never heard of it.
What do you think it is?
Maybe like the evolution from like your parent, like biologically, like from your parents or something.
Like gene,
Like family,
genetic
yeah.
and stuff. Okay. How about natural selection?
That's where like certain genes allow you to reproduce more. So
In an environment.
yeah, so that
Okay.
gene takes over.
Mm-hmm. And how do these two concepts relate to each other? Any ideas?
Like what genes you have that allow you to adapt better.
Will survive more, so eventually the species will evolve to more likely have that.
Okay, but how does it play a role with biological evolution, based off of what you know about biological evolution?
I have no idea.
Do you have any ideas, Sarah?
I told you my idea, so if that was wrong, I don't know.
Okay. Well, we're gonna read I'm gonna read you guys a prompt, and then read you guys what the student suggested biological evolution was, and then I'm gonna re-ask you for your ideas again about. Okay, so it says, 4 friends were discussing the meaning of the term biological evolution. This is what they said. Mario said, "I think it is another term for natural selection." Sally said, "I think it mainly explains how life started." Cameron said, "I think it mainly explains how life changed after it started." And Pa said, "I think it includes both how life started and how it changed after it started."
So would it be like?
So who do you guys agree with?
Could you repeat it?
Yeah. Mario, "I think it's another term for natural selection." Sally, "I think it mainly explains how life started." Cameron, "I think it mainly explains how life changed after it started." And Paz, "I think it includes both how life started and how it changed."
I guess the last one, maybe?
I was gonna say that one or Cameron. One above it.
Okay, so why do you think it's Cameron or Paz? Why do you think it mainly explains how life changed after it started, or why do you think it includes both?
Like, would it just be like how different like time periods, how it's like changed and how like the land and people have like evolved from like when it first started?
Yeah, so biological evolution is the change of living things over a period of time. And a lot, like a misconception that students have with this, well, first of all, it's not even taught in elementary schools. It's more of like a high school concept. But a misconception that students have is that they think that natural selection is like biological evolution. But reality is that it is biological evolution is a branch off of natural selection. It's like natural evolution happens through natural selection. Biological evolution happens through natural selection. So, now, how does natural selection happen? Which will lead you to how it all works out with biological evolution.
So you're just asking about natural selection at the moment? It happens when an organism has a trait that allows it to be better suited for an environment or protects it, so it has more chances to reproduce.
Mm-hmm. And do you know the 4 conditions about natural selection? Do you know any of them? I can tell you one of them. It's individuals in a population must reproduce more offspring than can survive.
That makes sense. I have no idea about the rest of them. I'm sorry.
Okay, so individuals must have different characteristics. Offsprings must inherit some characteristics from their parents, and organisms with the best suited characteristics for their environment are more likely to reproduce and survive. So, let's take a look at why Mario cannot be right. If you were introducing this to like an elementary, to accommodate it for an elementary.
What was his answer again?
I'm not telling you guys the answer yet.
No, what was Mara's answer? You said why was it
Okay,
wrong?
yeah. Okay, so I think it is another term for natural selection.
Okay.
Why can it not be another term for natural selection? I'm going to go ahead and tell you Mario's not right, but why?
Because isn't what you said natural selection is like what aids in evolution?
Like a branch off
Of evolution, okay. And what about, I'm not going to tell you if Sally, Cameron, or Paz are correct, but why so or why not? You said that Sally could not, you didn't agree with Sally, and Sally's response was, I think it mainly explains how life started.
Because
Well, is it evolution how life started?
well,
It's
evolution's
like
also
an evolution of how like life started.
right, but
So,
it also has to include the changes that occur. I mean, that's the principle of evolution. It can't just be the beginning part; it has to have all parts.
okay. And you said Cameron. I think it mainly explains how life changed after it started, and I think it includes both how life started and how it changed after it started. So, why do you say Cameron or Paz?
because they're both talking about like the changes over like when it first started, and I guess if like evolution is like when it first started, then that I don't really know, but that would just be talking about like how it's like changed and like yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So during this grove, the correct one is Cameron, which is I think it mainly explains how life changed after it started. Because of natural selection being a part of theory of biological evolution. It is a mechanism that drives evolutionary change in organisms. The theory of biological focuses on explaining life's diversity, and it's still unclear about like what biological evolution really is and how it all because they can't go back to when life started, and the only thing that proves biological evolution are fossils. And why fossils?
What?
Why fossils?
Well, because those things aren't here now, so something had to have happened.
So it was a part of evolution of how things evolved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what minute am I on?
7 minutes and 16 seconds.
Okay. And what can you tell me about adaptation and natural selection?
Like it adapts to its environments, like the ability for it to survive and like thrive off
In a certain
what's-
environment.
Yeah.
Okay, and some common misconceptions are natural selection involves organisms trying to adapt, and how can you explain this to students? That this is not correct? That natural selection involves organisms trying to adapt? Because it's vice versa, right? You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Like, a natural selection chooses, like, the best characteristics or whatnot for a specific organism to live in that environment, not the organism chooses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, what about natural selection gives organisms what they need?
That's not true because some mutations are bad.
Okay, right, and so students have a lot of misconceptions with these two things that I just said.
Minute and a half.
So how can you, can you or Sarah give me an example of how, or like a scenario of how you could implement this in your classroom and show students how, like, to differentiate between biological evolution and natural selection? Or how can you better explain this? Because this is really, like I said, this is really a high school probe, but for elementary students, for example, it says, I'm going to read you what it says, curricular and instructional considerations. In the elementary grades, the focus is on building a knowledge base about biological diversity to build a foundation for later understanding of the concept of biological evolution. Students learn about life forms that no longer exist and compare their similarities to present-day organisms. They also examine features of organisms that help the organism survive in their environment. They examine visible anatomical similarities that help them begin to build evidence for similarities within the diversity of life.
Well, could you just do like with fossils? Because if it started out with fossils, but then obviously they couldn't adapt, so they died off. So
Yes,
now
exactly.
you can see
That was what I was thinking
Yep,
too.
that's right. And you guys did a good job.